Hello everyone, and welcome. Before we dive into the principles of atomic habits, let me start with a story. James Clear, the author of this book, was not always a best-selling writer or a highly sought-after speaker. In fact, when he was in high school, his life nearly ended in tragedy. During a baseball practice, he was struck in the face with a bat. The injury was catastrophic. His skull was fractured, his nose was shattered, and his brain began to swell dangerously. For days, he struggled to survive. Doctors doubted whether he would fully recover, let alone live a normal life again. But over the next months and years, James Clear slowly rebuilt himself. He did not return to normal overnight. There was no sudden breakthrough, no magical moment when everything was fixed. Instead, he recovered step by step, day by day, by focusing on the smallest possible improvements. He learned to walk again, to move again, to rebuild strength. He went from someone who was barely able to function to someone who played baseball at the collegiate level. This personal experience became the foundation of his philosophy. True transformation does not come from sudden, massive action. It comes from the compound effect of small habits, repeated consistently over time. That idea is the heart of this book, Atomic Habits. Now, what exactly is an atomic habit? The word atomic has two meanings. On one hand, it refers to something very small, like an atom. On the other hand, it also represents something incredibly powerful, like atomic energy. When you combine those meanings, an atomic habit is a small routine that has the power to unleash tremendous change in your life. Think about this. If you get just 1% better each day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better. On the other hand, if you get 1% worse each day, you will decline nearly to zero. Small habits compound. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them day after day. This is why habits matter so much. They're not just small actions you perform unconsciously. They are the invisible architecture of daily life. They shape your identity, your future, and your destiny. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people who both want to be healthier. One says, "I will try to go on a strict diet starting tomorrow." The other simply decides, "I will start drinking 1 glass of water before each meal." The first person may feel motivated for a week or two, but eventually, the strict diet feels overwhelming, and they fall back into old routines. The second person, however, has chosen a small, easy, repeatable habit. Over time, that habit grows. Drinking water leads to eating less, feeling more energized, and eventually building other healthy routines. The small habit compounds into a big result. This is the power of atomic habits. They make change easy, sustainable, and lasting. But here's the problem most of us face. We often think change requires massive action. We imagine we need to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, run 10 kilometers, read 50 books a year, or completely reinvent our routines. And because those changes feel so big, we delay, procrastinate, and eventually give up. What James Clear shows us is that success doesn't come from huge goals. It comes from systems. Your goal might be to run a marathon, but your system is the daily habit of putting on your running shoes and going for a jog. Your goal might be to write a book, but your system is sitting down to write 1 page every day. Goals are about the results you want. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. This book is not about setting goals. It's about building systems of habits that naturally lead to success. Let's take a quick analogy. Imagine you are an airplane leaving Los Angeles, heading for New York. If the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane by just 3.5 degrees, barely noticeable at the start, the plane will end up landing in Washington, D.C. instead of New York. That tiny change in direction, repeated over thousands of miles, leads to an entirely different destination. The same is true in our lives. Tiny shifts in our daily habits lead us, over months and years, to very different outcomes. The question is not whether you will succeed tomorrow or next week. The real question is, what trajectory are your habits putting you on? So in this book summary, we will explore the principles of atomic habits. We will learn how to build good habits, how to break bad ones, and how to create a system of continuous improvement. We will talk about the science of behavior, the psychology of motivation, and the practical steps you can take starting today. The journey will be guided by what James Clear calls the 4 laws of behavior change. These are simple but powerful rules. Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. Each law helps us design habits that stick, and each law has an opposite version, which helps us break harmful habits. By the end of this session, you will not just understand why habits matter. You will know exactly how to reshape them. Before we go deeper, I want to leave you with one powerful idea. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems are nothing more than a collection of habits. So let's begin the journey of atomic habits. Let's learn how small, atomic changes can create extraordinary results. Chapter 1. The Fundamentals. Why tiny changes make a big difference. When most people think about change, they imagine something dramatic. They imagine waking up one morning with a completely new lifestyle, running 5 miles before breakfast, eating only vegetables, meditating for an hour, and reading 3 books a week. We think transformation requires intensity, but in reality, transformation is almost always the result of consistency. The truth is this: tiny changes compound over time, and the results are far greater than we imagine. This is the foundation of James Clear's philosophy in Atomic Habits. The power of 1% improvements. Let's begin with a simple thought experiment. Imagine you decided to improve by just 1% every single day. Not 10%, not 50%, just 1%. At the end of 1 year, that 1% improvement compounds, and you are not slightly better, but 37 times better. On the other hand, imagine you decline by 1% every day. By the end of the year, you will have almost completely diminished your potential. This is the math of habits. Habits compound, just like money earns compound interest. And this principle works in both directions. Good habits compound into positive results, while bad habits compound into negative ones. Think about it. Eating a single slice of cake today will not ruin your health. But if you repeat that every day for months, the results will be visible. Reading a few pages today will not make you a scholar. But doing that daily for years can transform your knowledge and perspective. What matters is not the single action. It is the repeated system of actions. Why we struggle to notice small changes. Now, here's the challenge. Small improvements are easy to dismiss. If you go to the gym today and exercise for 30 minutes, you will not suddenly have a new body. If you skip the gym today, you will not suddenly be overweight. Because the results of habits are delayed, our brains underestimate their power. We live in what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. This is the early stage of change where we expect to see immediate results, but the real payoff is still hidden. Imagine planting bamboo. For years, nothing seems to happen above the ground. But beneath the surface, the roots are spreading deep and wide. Then, almost suddenly, the bamboo shoots up rapidly. Habits work the same way. Progress is not always visible right away, but beneath the surface, your habits are building momentum. If you stay consistent long enough, a breakthrough will eventually come, and it will seem almost sudden to everyone else. Forget goals, focus on systems. This brings us to one of the most radical ideas in Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Most people think success is about setting the right goals. Lose 20 pounds, run a marathon, write a book, save $10,000. But goals only define the direction. They do not guarantee the journey. What guarantees the journey is your system, your collection of daily habits. Consider 2 athletes training for a competition. Both want to win. Both set the same goal. The difference between the champion and the runner-up is not the goal. It is the system of habits that each follows every single day. James Clear puts it simply: goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you want better results, stop obsessing over goals. Instead, focus on building better systems. Small shifts create big destinations. To make this idea even clearer, Imagine an airplane leaving Los Angeles bound for New York. If the pilot shifts the nose of the plane by just 3.5 degrees, barely noticeable at takeoff, the plane will not land in New York. It will land in Washington, D.C., hundreds of miles away. That tiny change at the beginning of the journey leads to a completely different destination. Our lives work the same way. Small shifts in our habits may not seem to matter in the moment, but they compound over months and years into entirely different outcomes. The difference between being slightly overweight or being fit, between being slightly disorganized or being highly productive, between saving a little money or drowning in debt. It all comes down to the daily habits that accumulate over time. Habits shape your identity. Another fundamental idea is that habits are not just about what you want to achieve. They are about who you wish to become. Let's say you want to quit smoking. If someone offers you a cigarette and you say, "No, thanks, I'm trying to quit," your identity is still tied to being a smoker who is struggling. But if you say, "No, thanks, I don't smoke," your words reflect a different identity. You are no longer a smoker. Habits are not just actions. They are votes for the kind of person you want to be. Every workout is a vote for being a healthy person. Every page you read is a vote for being a reader. Every line you write is a vote for being a writer. No single action will change your identity overnight, but together, these small votes accumulate into something powerful. In this way, habits are the building blocks of identity. They're not about achieving something once, but about becoming someone permanently. The 4 stages of habit formation. Now that we understand why habits matter, let's break down how they work. Every habit goes through 4 stages. Cue, the trigger that starts the habit. Craving, the desire or motivation behind the habit. Response, the actual behavior or action. Reward, the benefit you gain from the habit. This is called the habit loop. The cue makes you notice something. The craving makes you want it. The response is your action. And the reward teaches your brain to repeat the behavior in the future. For example, let's take checking your phone. Cue, you hear a notification sound. Craving, you want to know what it is. Response, you pick up the phone. Reward, you feel satisfied after reading the message. This loop explains why habits stick. Your brain learns that certain cues are linked to rewards, and it repeats the behavior automatically. Why small habits are easier to build. Here is the beauty of atomic habits. They are small enough to be achievable, but powerful enough to be transformative. Trying to meditate for an hour every day feels overwhelming, but committing to just 1 minute is easy. Once you start, momentum builds, and often you go longer than planned. The key is lowering the barrier to action until it feels almost effortless. James Clear calls this the 2-minute rule. Any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to begin. Want to read more? Just read 1 page. Want to exercise? Just put on your workout shoes. Want to eat healthier? Just chop 1 piece of fruit. Starting small makes it harder to say no. And once you begin, the habit grows naturally. Closing thoughts on Chapter 1. So let us summarize the fundamentals. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Small changes may seem insignificant today, but they accumulate into remarkable results. Forget about goals. Focus on systems. Tiny shifts in direction create massive differences in destination. Habits shape not just your outcomes, but your very identity. This is the foundation of atomic habits. From here, James Clear will teach us the 4 laws of behavior change. Practical strategies to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. The key takeaway from Chapter 1 is this. If you want to change your life, start small. Small habits are not small. They are powerful atoms of transformation. Chapter 2. How your habits shape your identity, and vice versa. When we think about habits, we often focus on what we want to achieve. I want to lose weight. I want to run a marathon. I want to write a book. These are outcome-based goals. And while they can be motivating, they are not enough to create lasting change. Because the truth is, lastingly transforming your life is not about what you do, but about who you believe you are. This is the essence of identity-based habits. Identity-based habits versus outcome-based habits. Outcome-based habits are focused on results. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to earn $10,000 more this year. Identity-based habits, on the other hand, are focused on becoming the type of person who can achieve those results. I'm a healthy person. I am someone who manages money wisely. Notice the difference. One focuses on the future result. The other focuses on the present identity. And identity is far more powerful because our behaviors naturally follow our self-image. When your identity aligns with your desired habits, change becomes automatic. You're no longer forcing yourself to act. You are acting in accordance with who you are. Every action is a vote for your identity. James Clear emphasizes a powerful concept. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Flossing your teeth, that's a vote for being someone who values health. Writing a page of your novel, that's a vote for being a writer. Exercising for 10 minutes, that's a vote for being a fit and disciplined person. The key is consistency. One action does not define you, but repeated actions over days, weeks, and years accumulate into the identity that sticks. Think about it like this. If you want to be a runner, it's not about running a marathon tomorrow. It's about consistently showing up for small runs. Over time, your identity shifts from I'm someone who wants to run to I am a runner. The habit of running builds your identity, not just your endurance. How to build identity-based habits. So, how do you create habits that reinforce the person you want to become? James Clear outlines a simple process. Decide the type of person you want to be. This is your identity goal. Not, I want to read more books, but I am a reader. Not, I want to save money, but I am a financially responsible person. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every habit you perform is a proof of that identity. Reading one page, saving $1, or walking for 10 minutes. These small actions are the evidence that you are who you claim to be. Focus on systems, not goals. If your identity is, I am a runner, your system is, lace up your shoes, run a small distance each day, track your runs. The focus is on the process, not the distant outcome. Be patient. Identity change does not happen overnight. Just as bamboo roots grow beneath the surface for years before the plant shoots up, your new identity grows through consistent actions before it becomes visible. The 2 layers of behavior change. Clear introduces 2 layers of behavior change. Outcome change. You want a specific result. Lose weight, earn more, write a book. Identity change. You want to become the type of person who achieves those results. Most people attempt change at the outcome level. They try to force themselves to lose weight or run more without considering their identity. This often leads to failure because the behavior is disconnected from who they believe they are. When you focus on identity, habits are no longer external pressures. They are internal expressions of who you are. Identity-based habits are far more sustainable because they are aligned with your sense of self. The 2-step process for identity change. James Clear simplifies identity change into 2 steps. Step 1. Decide the person you want to be. Not, I want to run a marathon, but I am a runner. Not, I want to write a book, but I am a writer. Not, I want to be healthy, but I am a healthy person. Step 2. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Read 1 page today. That proves you are a reader. Run for 5 minutes today. That proves you are a runner. Eat a healthy meal today. That proves you are a healthy person. Every small habit you perform is a vote for the identity you want to embody. Over time, these votes accumulate into an unshakable identity. Habits as identity reinforcers. Habits don't just form your routines. They reinforce your self-image. For example, imagine 2 people who both want to quit smoking. Person A says, I need to quit smoking. Person B says, I am not a smoker. Person A focuses on the action. Person B focuses on identity. Which one is more likely to succeed? Research and experience show that person B, who aligns behavior with identity, is far more likely to maintain the habit. Why? Because their actions are consistent with their self-image. Breaking the habit would create cognitive dissonance, a conflict with how they see themselves. Your habits are the evidence of who you are. The more consistent the actions, the stronger the identity becomes. Small habits, big identity shifts. Identity-based habits also help avoid the trap of motivation. Most people fail because motivation fluctuates. Some days, you feel inspired. Other days, you do not. Identity-based habits bypass the need for constant motivation. Why? Because the question is no longer, do I feel like doing this? But is this who I am? For example, if your identity is, I am a writer, the question becomes, do I write today? Not, do I feel motivated to write today? You write because that is who you are. Motivation comes and goes, but identity is constant. The plateau of latent potential. Clear also introduces the concept of the plateau of latent potential. Most people give up on new habits too early because results are not immediately visible. You might exercise for a month and see no change. You might save money for a few months and not feel richer. You might practice writing for weeks and feel your skills are stagnant. This is normal. The work is building the underlying systems. Success is delayed, and early progress is hidden. But eventually, the cumulative impact of small, consistent actions leads to breakthrough results. Just like bamboo, which spends years growing roots underground before shooting up 80 feet in a few weeks, your habits are preparing you for significant transformation. How to apply identity-based habits in daily life. Define your core identities. Choose 3 to 5 core identities you want to embody, like, I am a healthy person, I am a lifelong learner, I am a disciplined professional. Start small. Pick small, manageable actions that align with each identity. Don't overwhelm yourself with grand gestures. Track your wins. Every time you perform a habit aligned with your identity, record it. This visual proof reinforces the identity. Focus on systems. Design your environment and routines to support these habits. Remove friction from good behaviors and increase friction for bad ones. Be consistent, not perfect. Identity is built over time. One missed day does not erase progress. What matters is the long-term pattern. Closing thoughts on Chapter 2. Chapter 2 emphasizes a critical insight. The most powerful habits are the ones that reinforce your identity. If you want to change your life, don't start with outcomes. Start with the type of person you want to become. Then, design habits that provide evidence of that identity. Let your actions vote repeatedly for the new self you want to embody. This is the foundation for lasting change. Because when habits are tied to identity, they are no longer external pressures. They are expressions of who you are. And this principle sets the stage for the 4 laws of behavior change, which we will explore in the next chapters. These laws will show you how to make good habits inevitable, bad habits impossible, and all of them aligned with your identity. Chapter 3. The first law. Make it obvious. In the journey of habit formation, awareness is the first critical step. Before you can change your habits, you need to understand them. And the first law of behavior change, according to James Clear, is make it obvious. What does this mean? At its core, it means designing your environment and cues so that the behaviors you want to adopt are clear, visible, and unavoidable. Most people try to rely on willpower alone. They tell themselves, I'll remember to do this tomorrow, or I'll just try harder next time. But willpower is limited, motivation fluctuates, and life is full of distractions. To reliably build habits, you need to make the cues for good behavior obvious. The habit loop recap. Every habit works through a loop of 4 stages. Cue, the trigger that initiates the habit. Craving, the desire or motivation behind the habit. Response, the behavior itself. Reward, the benefit you gain, reinforcing the behavior. The first law targets the cue. If the cue is unclear, habits do not form. If it is obvious, habits happen almost automatically. Consider a simple example: brushing your teeth. For most people, this habit is automatic because the cue is obvious. You finish dinner, and the toothbrush is in plain sight on the sink. No deep thought is required. The environment signals the behavior, and the habit occurs. Implementation intentions. Make your habits explicit. One of the most effective techniques to make habits obvious is called implementation intentions. Instead of a vague plan like, I will exercise more, you define a specific action, time, and location. I will walk for 20 minutes at 7 a.m. in my neighborhood. I will read one chapter of a book after I pour my morning coffee. I will meditate for 5 minutes after brushing my teeth. By specifying when, where, and how, you remove ambiguity. The habit becomes obvious and actionable, reducing the reliance on willpower. Habit stacking. Build on existing routines. Another powerful technique is habit stacking. This means attaching a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth. After I sit down in my morning coffee, I will write in my journal for 5 minutes. After I turn off my alarm, I will drink a glass of water. Existing habits act as anchors. By stacking new habits onto them, you create a natural trigger. Your brain recognizes the routine, and the new behavior becomes easier to perform. Habit stacking also creates momentum. Once a new habit is linked to an existing one, it becomes part of a chain of behavior that flows naturally, without conscious thought. Environment design. Make good habits visible, bad habits invisible. James Clear emphasizes that environment is often more powerful than motivation. You are more likely to eat chips if they are on the counter than if they are hidden in a cupboard. You are more likely to read a book if it is on your nightstand than if it is buried in a drawer. By shaping your environment, you make good habits obvious and bad habits hidden. To adopt a habit, make cues for good behaviors visible. Place healthy snacks in plain sight. Keep your workout clothes where you will see them. Set up your workspace to encourage focus. To break a habit, make cues invisible. Remove distractions. Hide your phone during work, or avoid aisles with junk food when shopping. Environment design is not just about convenience. It is about automatic behavior change. The easier it is to see a cue for a good habit, the more likely it is to happen without conscious effort. The 2-minute rule. Make habits simple to start. Another way to make habits obvious is by using the 2-minute rule. Scale every habit down to a version that can be done in 2 minutes or less. Want to read more? Start with 1 page. Want to exercise? Put on your workout shoes. Want to meditate? Just focus on breathing for 2 minutes. Starting small reduces friction. Often, the hardest part of any habit is simply starting. Once you begin, momentum naturally carries you forward. 2 minutes might seem insignificant, but small habits grow. Floss 1 tooth today, and you might floss the entire set tomorrow. Read 1 page today, and you may continue for 10 more minutes. The key is to make starting so easy that it is almost impossible to say no. The importance of awareness. Making habits obvious also requires awareness of your current behaviors. James Clear suggests habit tracking as a tool. By writing down or recording your habits, you bring them into conscious view. Keep a journal of every time you exercise. Mark a calendar for each day you read. Use apps that track meditation or water intake. When habits are visible, you can measure progress, notice patterns, and adjust behavior. Out of sight is out of mind, and what is out of mind rarely improves. Examples of obvious habits in daily life. Let's explore some real-life examples of making habits obvious. Healthy eating. Place fruits and vegetables at eye level in the fridge. Hide sugary snacks in opaque containers. The cue is obvious, and the good choice is effortless. Exercise. Keep gym clothes by your bed or workout shoes by the door. When you see them first thing in the morning, they serve as a visual cue. Reading. Place a book on your pillow or desk. Seeing it reminds you to pick it up. Productivity. Keep your workspace clean and organized. Open tabs and tools you need for work are visible. Distractions are hidden. Learning. Keep flashcards, language apps, or notebooks in plain sight. Your brain recognizes them as cues to study. In each example, the environment nudges behavior. Small changes in visibility can make habits automatic. The role of social cues. Humans are social creatures. The people around us act as powerful cues. Being surrounded by individuals who demonstrate certain behaviors makes those behaviors obvious and appealing. Want to exercise more? Spend time with friends who prioritize fitness. Want to write more? Join a writing group. Want to eat healthier? Surround yourself with family or colleagues who make better food choices. Social environment works because it creates subtle cues and pressure to conform. The behavior becomes obvious because it is modeled and reinforced by others. The inversion. Make bad habits invisible. Just as you can make good habits obvious, you can make bad habits invisible. Store junk food in a cupboard rather than on the counter. Move your phone out of reach when working. Unsubscribe from distracting emails. Rearrange your environment to remove temptations. By hiding cues for bad habits, you reduce the likelihood of automatic behavior. Out of sight is out of mind. Summary of the first law. To recap Chapter 3, habits begin with a cue. Make the cue obvious to increase the likelihood of behavior. Use implementation intentions. Specify when, where, and how a habit will occur. Use habit stacking. Attach new habits to existing routines. Design your environment. Make good habits visible, bad habits invisible. Apply the 2-minute rule. Make habits small and easy to start. Track your habits. Awareness increases success. Leverage social cues. Other people can signal habits to your brain. By making habits obvious, you remove reliance on willpower. You create a system where desired behaviors naturally occur and bad behaviors are less likely to happen. Closing thoughts on Chapter 3. The first law is deceptively simple. You might read it and think, just make it obvious? That's easy. But in practice, most people fail because their environment is not aligned with their goals. Motivation alone is unreliable. Cues drive action. When you master the first law, habits begin to form almost automatically. The next steps, the second, third, and fourth laws, will teach you how to make habits attractive, easy, and satisfying. Together, these laws create a system for lasting change. Remember, what you see often dictates what you do. Make the cues for good habits impossible to ignore, and watch as your behaviors start to shift naturally. Chapter 4, the second law. Make it attractive. Building habits is not just about awareness or making cues obvious. Humans are wired to respond to pleasure and avoid pain. Our brains naturally gravitate toward things that feel rewarding and pleasurable. This is where the second law of behavior change comes in. Make it attractive. The more attractive a habit, the more likely it is to become automatic. Conversely, habits that feel boring, difficult, or unrewarding are much harder to sustain. The science behind this is simple. Behaviors that stimulate positive feelings release dopamine in the brain. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and reward. It encourages us to repeat behaviors that feel good. Temptation bundling. Pair the enjoyable with the necessary. One of the most effective ways to make habits attractive is through temptation bundling. This means pairing an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, only listen to your favorite podcast while jogging. Watch a new TV episode only while folding laundry. Drink coffee only while reading a book you love. By linking a habit you need to perform with a behavior you enjoy, you create immediate rewards, increasing the likelihood that the habit will stick. Temptation bundling works because it rewires your perception of the habit. What once seemed like a chore now becomes desirable. The role of social environment. Humans are inherently social creatures. We imitate the behaviors of those around us, consciously or unconsciously. If everyone in your social circle exercises regularly, you are more likely to do the same. If your friends are readers, you are more likely to pick up a book. Social cues make habits attractive because they are associated with belonging and identity. This is why joining groups, communities, or even online forums that reinforce the habit you want can significantly increase adherence. Motivation is temporary, but habit attraction is lasting. Many people rely solely on motivation to build habits. Motivation fluctuates with mood, energy, and circumstances. Some days, you feel motivated. Other days, you don't. A habit that is attractive creates its own motivation. It becomes a behavior you look forward to performing. Consider the habit of exercising. If you associate it only with pain, sweating, and effort, you are likely to quit when motivation dips. But if you associate it with pleasure, listening to a favorite playlist, exercising with friends, or celebrating small victories, it becomes attractive. You perform the behavior not because you force yourself, but because you genuinely want to. Reinforce positive associations. James Clear emphasizes that we are more likely to repeat behaviors that feel rewarding. To make habits attractive, reinforce positive associations. Celebrate small wins. Give yourself a pat on the back or record your progress. Visualize long-term benefits. Imagine a stronger, healthier, or more knowledgeable version of yourself. Make the habit fun. Gamify routines, track streaks, or challenge yourself. When habits are enjoyable, your brain releases dopamine even before performing them. This anticipation increases the probability of habit formation. Motivation versus attraction. Understanding the difference. Motivation is the desire to achieve a future reward. Attraction is the appeal of the behavior itself. Motivation is fleeting. Attraction is enduring. Imagine two people attempting to run in the morning. Person A relies on motivation. I want to be fit. Some mornings, they feel tired and skip the run. Person B focuses on attraction. I get to run with friends, listen to my favorite music, and enjoy fresh air. Even on tired mornings, the behavior itself is appealing, so they continue. Attractive habits reduce reliance on sheer willpower. They make adherence easier and more natural. Habit pairing and anticipation. Clear also explains that anticipation creates desire. We naturally look forward to pleasurable experiences. When you pair habits with things you enjoy, anticipation fuels the behavior. If you know you will watch your favorite show after cleaning becomes more appealing. If you know a delicious smoothie awaits after a workout, the workout feels rewarding. Anticipation is a powerful psychological driver. By linking habits to rewards and enjoyable activities, you make the action itself attractive and desirable. Practical applications of the second law. Exercise. Pair workouts with music, podcasts, or social interaction. Healthy eating. Make nutritious meals visually appealing and flavorful. Learning. Pair reading or studying with enjoyable beverages or a comfortable space. Productivity. Combine work sessions with small pleasures, like a favorite pen, coffee, or short breaks. The principle is simple. Make habits appealing so your brain wants to perform them naturally. The importance of identity in attraction. Attractive habits are also reinforced by identity. When you see yourself as the type of person who enjoys a particular habit, it becomes self-reinforcing. If you identify as a runner, running feels enjoyable. If you identify as a reader, picking up a book feels natural. If you identify as a healthy eater, choosing vegetables becomes attractive. Identity shapes perception. When habits align with your self-image, they become more appealing, not less. The role of dopamine in habit formation. Dopamine doesn't just respond to rewards. It also responds to cues that signal rewards. This is why anticipation is so important. Seeing your workout shoes triggers dopamine because it signals an upcoming pleasurable experience. Smelling coffee triggers dopamine because it signals a comforting ritual. By consciously creating cues that generate positive anticipation, you make habits attractive even before performing them. Inversion. Making bad habits unattractive. The second law also has an inversion. Make bad habits unattractive. Reframe your perspective. Focus on the long-term pain or consequences of a habit. Highlight the costs. Think about money lost, health impacts, or wasted time. Associate negative social consequences. If smoking isolates you from friends, it becomes less appealing. By consciously associating negative habits with unpleasant outcomes, you reduce their attractiveness and make them easier to avoid. Summary of the second law. To recap Chapter 4, habits stick when they are attractive. Use temptation bundling to pair habits with enjoyable activities. Leverage social cues and communities. Reinforce positive associations and celebrate small wins. Anticipation fuels desire. Align habits with your identity. Make bad habits unattractive by highlighting costs and consequences. Attractive habits require less motivation, feel rewarding, and are easier to sustain. By making behaviors appealing, you create a system where good habits feel natural and automatic. Closing thoughts on Chapter 4. The first law helped you see the habit. The second law makes the habit desirable. Together, these laws create a strong foundation for behavior change. When habits are both obvious and attractive, your brain seeks them out naturally. Motivation is no longer the primary driver. Your environment, anticipation, and identity guide your behavior automatically. Remember, we are drawn toward pleasure and away from pain. Design your habits to align with that basic human tendency, and you dramatically increase the chances of long-term success. Chapter 5. The third law. Make it easy. By this point, you have learned two important laws of behavior change. Make your habits obvious and make them attractive. But awareness and desire alone are not enough. Even when you clearly see a habit and find it appealing, you may still fail if the habit feels difficult or inconvenient. This is where the third law of behavior change comes in. Make it easy. The essence of this law is simple. Humans are wired to follow the path of least resistance. We naturally gravitate toward behaviors that require minimal effort. The easier a habit is to perform, the more likely it is to stick. Conversely, habits that are complicated, time-consuming, or effortful are far less likely to become part of our routine. The role of friction. Every habit has an associated friction, small obstacles that make the behavior harder to do. Friction could be the effort of preparing your gym clothes, the mental energy to start a task, or the inconvenience of accessing a tool. The more friction a habit has, the less likely you are to perform it consistently. James Clear emphasizes that reducing friction is the key to building lasting habits. Conversely, you can increase friction for bad habits, making them harder to perform and easier to avoid. For example, if you want to watch less TV, unplug the device and store the remote in a drawer. If you want to exercise more, keep your workout clothes and shoes in plain sight. If you want to eat healthier, pre-cut vegetables and place them in easy-to-reach containers. Small changes in friction can dramatically increase or decrease the likelihood of performing a habit. The 2-minute rule. One of the most practical techniques for making habits easy is the 2-minute rule. This rule states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Want to start reading? Read 1 page. Want to meditate? Focus on breathing for 2 minutes. Want to exercise? Do a single push-up. Why 2 minutes? Because starting is often the hardest part of any habit. Once you begin, momentum naturally carries you forward. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. By starting small, you overcome the inertia that prevents habit formation. Automate your habits. Another way to make habits easy is through automation. When possible, remove decision-making from the process so that the behavior happens automatically. Use automatic savings to pay yourself first. Prepare meals in advance, so healthy eating is effortless. Set recurring calendar events for exercise or study sessions. Automation reduces reliance on willpower and ensures that good behaviors occur consistently, even when motivation fluctuates. Prime your environment. Environment plays a crucial role in making habits easy. You can design your surroundings so that desired behaviors are the default choice and undesired behaviors are difficult. Place water bottles on your desk to encourage hydration. Keep fruit visible and within reach. Arrange your workspace to reduce distractions and make productive behavior more convenient. When the environment supports your habits, you minimize friction and increase the likelihood of success. Habit mastery through gradual improvement. James Clear also emphasizes the concept of gradual improvement. Once a habit is easy to start, you can scale it up naturally over time. Start with 1 push-up and eventually perform a full workout. Start with 1 page of reading and build up to a chapter or more. Start with a 5-minute walk and gradually extend the duration and intensity. Making habits easy at the start ensures that you establish consistency. As consistency grows, progress accelerates naturally. Inversion. Make bad habits hard. The third law also works in reverse. Make bad habits hard. Increase friction to reduce the likelihood of undesired behaviors. Want to reduce social media use? Log out of apps and remove notifications. Want to eat less junk food? Keep unhealthy snacks out of the house or in hard-to-reach places. Want to quit smoking? Avoid situations where cigarettes are readily available. By adding friction to bad habits, you leverage the same principle that makes good habits easy. Small obstacles can have a significant impact on reducing undesirable behaviors. Reducing cognitive load. Making habits easy is not just about physical environment. It's also about mental effort. The more decisions a habit requires, the harder it is to sustain. Reduce cognitive load to make behaviors automatic. Simplify your morning routine. Lay out clothes. Prepare breakfast in advance. Use templates for writing or work tasks. Automate repetitive tasks with software or tools. By removing unnecessary choices, you free up mental energy and make habits easier to maintain consistently. The role of momentum. Easy habits build momentum. Once a behavior becomes simple and effortless, it gains a self-reinforcing cycle. Small, repeated successes build confidence, and confidence increases adherence. Start with tiny habits, celebrate small wins, and watch momentum grow. Momentum reduces reliance on motivation and willpower, making long-term habit formation achievable. Examples of making habits easy. Exercise. Keep shoes and workout clothes visible. Automate workout reminders. Start with 2-minute exercises. Healthy eating. Pre-cut vegetables. Store fruit at eye level. Prepare meals in advance. Learning. Place books in visible locations. Schedule short study sessions. Use flashcards for quick review. Productivity. Automate repetitive tasks. Create templates. Keep workspace organized. Remove distractions. By simplifying the start of each habit, you make adherence almost effortless. Summary of the third law. To recap Chapter 5. Habits are more likely to stick when they are easy to perform. Reduce friction for good habits. Increase friction for bad ones. Apply the 2-minute rule. Scale habits down to a starting point that is almost effortless. Automate behaviors where possible. Prime your environment to support habits. Reduce cognitive load to make decision-making simple. Gradually scale habits as momentum builds. Making habits easy removes barriers, conserves willpower, and creates a system where behaviors flow naturally. Closing thoughts on Chapter 5. The first law made habits visible. The second law made habits appealing. The third law ensures that habits are easy to perform. When habits are obvious, attractive, and easy, the stage is set for consistent action. Motivation is no longer the primary driver. Your environment, cues, and systems take over. Mastering the third law transforms habit formation from a struggle into a smooth, almost automatic process. Small, easy steps accumulate, and over time, these atomic habits lead to remarkable results. Chapter 6, the fourth law, make it satisfying. We have learned the first 3 laws. Make habits obvious, make them attractive, and make them easy. These 3 laws help you start a habit, make it desirable, and reduce friction. But starting is only half the battle. To ensure a habit becomes lasting, it must be satisfying. The fourth law of behavior change is, make it satisfying. Humans are wired to repeat actions that feel rewarding. If a behavior feels good immediately, our brains are more likely to reinforce it. Conversely, if a habit feels unpleasant, inconsistent, or unrewarding, it will likely fade over time. Satisfaction is the key to reinforcement. Without it, even good habits can fail to stick. Immediate rewards. The problem with many habits is that the reward is delayed. You may exercise today, but the physical results appear weeks or months later. You may save money today, but the financial security is years away. The delayed nature of rewards makes habits harder to maintain. James Clear explains that immediate rewards increase the likelihood of repetition. The more satisfying a habit feels in the moment, the more likely your brain is to repeat it. For example, exercise can be paired with music, podcasts, or enjoyable scenery. Healthy eating can be made more satisfying by preparing meals that are both nutritious and delicious. Learning can be enjoyable through interactive tools, gamified apps, or social engagement. Immediate satisfaction reinforces the habit loop and strengthens behavior over time. Habit tracking, visual proof of progress. One of the simplest ways to make habits satisfying is tracking your progress. Visual evidence of your consistency is rewarding and motivating. Use a calendar to mark each day you complete a habit. Check off items in a habit tracking app. Maintain a journal recording your achievements. Seeing a streak of success builds momentum. Each check mark or visual cue triggers a small dopamine release, making you feel good and reinforcing the habit. Missing a day breaks the streak, creating mild discomfort that motivates you to continue the habit and restore consistency. This principle leverages the power of immediate feedback to make habits satisfying. Reinforce positive identity. Satisfaction also comes from reinforcing your desired identity. Every time you complete a habit, you confirm to yourself the type of person you want to be. Completing a workout reinforces the identity of a healthy, disciplined person. Writing consistently reinforces the identity of a writer. Reading every day reinforces the identity of a lifelong learner. This feedback loop creates both psychological satisfaction and motivation to continue. Your habits and identity reinforce each other, making the process deeply satisfying and self-reinforcing. Rewards and temptation bundling. Another technique to make habits satisfying is to pair habits with immediate rewards. This is a continuation of temptation bundling from the second law. Only allow yourself to watch your favorite show after completing a workout. Only drink your favorite tea after finishing a study session. Only enjoy dessert after preparing a healthy meal. By linking pleasurable activities to desirable behaviors, you make the habit itself satisfying. Your brain starts to associate the behavior with a positive outcome, reinforcing repetition. Inversion. Make bad habits unsatisfying. The fourth law also works in reverse. Make bad habits unsatisfying. By associating negative consequences with undesirable behaviors, you reduce the likelihood of repeating them. Financial consequences. Track money spent on unnecessary items. Social consequences. Inform a friend of your goals, so failure creates accountability. Personal consequences. Record or journal the negative impact of bad habits. By making bad habits immediately unpleasant or unsatisfying, your brain learns to avoid them. This complements the strategy of making good habits satisfying. The role of accountability. Accountability increases satisfaction because it introduces social and emotional rewards. Humans are social creatures, and public commitments can significantly increase habit adherence. Tell a friend or mentor about your goals. Share progress in a community or group. Join challenges with peers who track and celebrate results. When your actions are noticed and recognized, the behavior becomes satisfying beyond the immediate personal reward. Social reinforcement strengthens the habit loop and increases consistency, reinforcing momentum through celebration. Celebration amplifies satisfaction. A small, meaningful reward after completing a habit reinforces the action and increases the probability of repetition. After finishing a challenging workout, take a relaxing shower or listen to your favorite song. After completing a writing session, enjoy a short break with a favorite snack or beverage. After finishing a study session, reward yourself with a hobby or activity you enjoy. Celebration does not have to be extravagant. The key is to associate positive feelings with the habit, creating a loop of satisfaction that encourages continued action. Practical applications of the fourth law. Exercise. Track progress visually. Celebrate milestones. Pair workouts with music or enjoyable scenery. Healthy eating. Make meals both nutritious and flavorful. Track adherence. Celebrate small wins. Learning. Gamify study sessions. Track progress. Reward completion with enjoyable activities. Productivity. Use checklists, track completed tasks, and give yourself small, immediate rewards. By making habits satisfying, you create a feedback loop that reinforces behavior, builds consistency, and strengthens identity. Summary of the fourth law. To recap Chapter 6, habits stick when they are satisfying. Provide immediate rewards to reinforce behavior. Track your progress for visual proof of success. Reinforce positive identity through consistent action. Use temptation bundling to link habits with enjoyable outcomes. Make bad habits unsatisfying through negative consequences. Introduce accountability and social reinforcement. Celebrate milestones to strengthen motivation and satisfaction. Satisfaction is the final piece of the puzzle, completing the system of atomic habits. When combined with the first three laws, you have a framework that ensures habits are obvious, attractive, easy, and rewarding. Closing thoughts on Chapter 6. The fourth law transforms habit formation from struggle into a gratifying experience. When habits are satisfying, the brain naturally reinforces behavior, identity is strengthened, and consistency becomes effortless. Remember, humans repeat behaviors that feel good and avoid behaviors that feel bad. Make your habits satisfying, and you ensure that the change you desire is not only achievable, but also enjoyable. Chapter 7, Advanced Tactics. How to go from being merely good to truly exceptional. So far, we have explored the 4 fundamental laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. By following these principles, you can create habits that stick, improve consistently, and gradually transform your life. But what if you want to go beyond good? What if you want to move from being merely competent to truly exceptional? This chapter focuses on advanced tactics, strategies that refine your habits and push performance to an elite level. Atomic habits are not just about building routines. They're about mastering systems that compound over time and produce extraordinary results. The power of compound growth. James Clear emphasizes a simple truth. Small improvements, consistently applied, compound over time. 1% better every day may seem insignificant in the short term, but the cumulative effect is staggering. If you improve just 1% each day, you are 37 times better after 1 year. If you lose 1% efficiency each day, you nearly collapse after a year. This principle applies not only to personal performance, but also to relationships, business, finances, and health. Atomic habits leverage compound growth by focusing on consistent, incremental gains rather than sudden leaps. Focus on systems, not goals. Advanced performers understand that goals are good for setting direction, but systems are what drive long-term progress. Goals are outcomes you want to achieve, whereas systems are the processes that lead to those outcomes. A goal: I want to write a book. A system: I will write 500 words every morning. High achievers obsess over systems because they ensure progress independent of fluctuating motivation or luck. By refining systems, you can continually improve without relying on grandiose goals or fleeting inspiration. The Goldilocks rule: optimal difficulty. Human motivation peaks when tasks are neither too easy nor too hard. This is known as the Goldilocks rule. Tasks that are too simple are boring and fail to engage. Tasks that are too difficult create frustration and discouragement. The sweet spot is a challenge that stretches your abilities slightly beyond your current skill level. This zone promotes growth, sustained interest, and optimal learning. Advanced habit design involves calibrating difficulty. Start easy, gradually increase complexity, and continually adjust to maintain engagement. Environment design at an elite level. While beginners benefit from basic environment hacks, advanced performers optimize their environment to eliminate all unnecessary friction and maximize cues for high performance. Top athletes design spaces where training is unavoidable. Clothes laid out, equipment ready, distractions removed. Elite riders have dedicated, distraction-free zones optimized for creativity. Successful professionals automate repetitive tasks, declutter workflows, and align their environment with their highest priorities. Environment design is a form of default behavior engineering. Make success the path of least resistance and failure nearly impossible. Habit shaping and gradual escalation. Advanced tactics also involve habit shaping, starting with manageable versions and gradually increasing intensity or complexity. Start with a 5-minute meditation, progress to 20 minutes, then add advanced mindfulness techniques. Start with 1 push-up, progress to full workouts, then to advanced strength training routines. Start with short daily writing sessions, build to multiple chapters, then to complex projects. Shaping habits gradually reduces overwhelm and increases the likelihood of mastery. Consistent, incremental improvements compound into exceptional skill over time. Track and measure progress. Elite performers measure everything. Tracking habits provides feedback loops essential for optimization. Track daily metrics like pages written, words spoken, or sales calls made. Monitor progress visually through charts, streaks, or graphs. Analyze patterns to identify bottlenecks, inefficiencies, or opportunities for growth. Measurement creates clarity and accountability and provides motivation through visible progress. It also allows refinement of strategies for even higher performance. Social environment and peer effects. Advanced performers leverage social dynamics strategically. Surrounding yourself with high-performing peers creates upward social pressure. You adopt behaviors of those around you. You internalize norms of discipline, focus, and excellence. You gain support, advice, and feedback from others with similar goals. Social environment is a force multiplier. The right peers accelerate habit formation and elevate performance naturally. Identity-based refinement. At the elite level, identity becomes a self-reinforcing system. Habits are not just routines. They are expressions of the person you want to be at the highest level. I'm a disciplined athlete, drives consistent training. I'm a lifelong learner, drives continual study and skill acquisition. I am a productive professional, drives daily execution at peak efficiency. Advanced tactics ensure that identity and behavior are perfectly aligned, making high-level performance automatic rather than forced. Recovery and reset. Exceptional performance also requires strategies for failure recovery and habit reset. Even the most disciplined individuals experience setbacks. The key is how quickly and effectively they return to their system. Pre-plan responses to missed habits. Remove guilt and shame from lapses. Treat them as data points for refinement. Have easy ways to restart habits without friction or complexity. Consistency over time outweighs perfection. Elite performers understand that resilience is as important as execution. Focus on keystone habits. Keystone habits are behaviors that trigger a cascade of positive changes. Identifying and prioritizing these habits accelerates growth. Examples include exercise, boosts energy, improves mood, and enhances discipline. Journaling clarifies thinking, enhances self-awareness, and supports decision-making. Sleep hygiene improves cognitive function, emotional stability, and overall performance. Advanced habit design identifies high-leverage actions that maximize impact across multiple areas of life. Continuous refinement. The journey from good to exceptional is never finished. It involves constant refinement and experimentation. Test new routines, systems, and environments. Measure effectiveness and adjust. Iterate gradually, focusing on incremental improvements. Atomic habits are not static. They evolve as your skills, goals, and context evolve. Mastery is a product of continuous learning, adaptation, and refinement. Summary of advanced tactics. To recap Chapter 7, leverage compound growth through consistent, small improvements. Focus on systems, not just goals. Optimize difficulty for engagement, Goldilocks rule. Design environments for peak performance and minimal friction. Shape habits gradually, increasing intensity or complexity over time. Track progress visually and systematically. Use social environment strategically for upward pressure. Align habits with identity at the elite level. Plan for recovery and habit reset to maintain consistency. Identify keystone habits that drive wide-ranging improvements. Continuously refine and iterate for long-term mastery. When combined with the 4 fundamental laws, these advanced tactics create a framework for moving from competent to exceptional performance in any area of life. Closing thoughts on Chapter 7. Atomic habits are not just about building routines. They're about designing systems that compound into extraordinary outcomes. The journey from good to exceptional is gradual, deliberate, and reinforced by consistent small wins. By mastering environment, identity, feedback loops, and keystone habits, you can leverage the principles of atomic habits to achieve lasting excellence. Progress is rarely instant, but with the right systems, small steps today lead to remarkable achievements tomorrow.